Welcome back. Today we're taking a closer look at the 4 Lincoln commemorative cent, a coin millions have seen, but few have truly examined. Hidden in its tiny details is a story that fascinates serious collectors, and by the end, you'll understand why some authenticated examples stand out, while others are simply everyday pocket change. First coin. There are few modern American coins that invite a second look, quite like the 2009 Lincoln cent featuring the birth and early childhood reverse. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary penny that countless Americans may have carried in their pockets, but a closer inspection reveals a design unlike any other Lincoln cent issued before or since. Instead of the familiar Lincoln Memorial that had appeared for decades, the reverse depicts a humble log cabin representing Abraham Lincoln's earliest years in Kentucky, marking the beginning of an ambitious 4-coin commemorative series honoring the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. What makes this coin especially fascinating is that its significance extends far beyond its appearance. Hidden beneath its familiar copper color are details that collectors study with remarkable precision, from the quality of the strike and the mint that produced it to tiny imperfections that can transform an ordinary example into an exceptional collectible. As this story unfolds, you'll discover what authenticated examples of this coin have sold for in today's collector market and why professional grading, rarity, preservation, and genuine demand, not simply the date, determine whether one example is worth only face value while another commands serious attention from advanced collectors. The release of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cents represented one of the most significant changes to America's longest-running circulating coin series. Abraham Lincoln first appeared on the cent in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth, becoming the first real historical figure ever portrayed on a regularly circulating United States coin. 100 years later, the United States Mint honored his bicentennial by replacing the traditional Lincoln Memorial reverse with 4 different designs illustrating major stages of his life. The birth and early childhood design was the first to enter circulation in 2009 and symbolized Lincoln's beginnings in a simple one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky, now part of present-day LaRue County. The reverse was designed by Richard Masters and sculpted by Jim Licoretz, while Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Lincoln remained on the obverse, preserving a familiar image that Americans had recognized for generations. During this period, the United States was also emerging from the financial crisis of 2008, making these coins part of a fascinating chapter in American economic history. Despite difficult economic conditions, the Mint continued its commemorative program, ensuring that millions of Americans encountered Lincoln's story through everyday commerce, turning an ordinary cent into a small educational piece carried across the nation. Although these cents circulated widely, their production involved more complexity than many people realize. Business strike examples were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, identified by the absence of a mint mark for Philadelphia and a D mint mark for Denver beneath the date on the obverse. Collectors also sought proof versions produced at the San Francisco Mint bearing the S mint mark, which featured specially prepared dies and polished planchets for sharply detailed mirrored finishes. Even more interesting was the composition difference between circulating and collector editions. Regular circulation strikes retained the modern copper-plated zinc composition consisting of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating, weighing approximately 2.5 grams and measuring 19.05 millimeters in diameter with a plain edge. However, special collector sets also included versions struck in the historic bronze alloy, closely matching the composition of the original 1909 Lincoln cents, containing mostly copper with small amounts of tin and zinc and weighing approximately 3.11 grams. This distinction has become especially important because many collectors initially overlooked the bronze collector issues, focusing instead on circulation finds. Today, understanding the difference between these compositions is essential for accurate identification proper authentication, and realistic value expectations. As more collectors began examining these coins under magnification, it became clear that condition played an extraordinary role in determining desirability. Because millions of these cents immediately entered circulation, contact marks, scratches, discoloration, and weak strikes quickly reduced the quality of most surviving examples. Coins that escaped circulation altogether and remained in pristine mint state condition became increasingly attractive to registry collectors pursuing the finest certified examples. Professional grading services evaluate numerous characteristics beyond simple wear, including surface preservation, luster, strike sharpness, and eye appeal before assigning grades on the internationally recognized Sheldon scale. Collectors also classify copper coins according to color designations such as brown, red-brown, and full red, with full red examples retaining nearly all of their original brilliant mint color, generally commanding the strongest premiums. A certified mint state 68 full red example may attract offers in the neighborhood of $1,250 to $1,800 depending on certification, eye appeal, and current market demand, while similar coins with dull surfaces or noticeable spotting may sell for significantly less despite sharing the same date and mint. These differences demonstrate why two seemingly identical pennies can occupy completely different positions within the collector marketplace. Beyond condition alone, specialists carefully search for mint errors and die varieties that occasionally emerge during the manufacturing process. Every die used by the United States Mint experiences stress, wear, and gradual deterioration throughout production, and under certain circumstances, these changes create collectible varieties that advanced numismatists eagerly document. Collectors inspect the lettering, Lincoln's portrait, the log cabin details, and the date for signs of doubled dies, die chips, die cracks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or other genuine mint-made abnormalities. While the vast majority of 2009 birth and early childhood cents display no dramatic errors, authenticated examples featuring significant production anomalies can attract substantial premiums because they combine historical interest with true manufacturing rarity. A professionally authenticated major off-center strike retaining a full visible date, for example, has reached values around $2,300 in specialized markets, while exceptional double-die discoveries or dramatic wrong planchet errors may exceed that range depending on certification and collector competition. However, experienced numismatists emphasize that damaged coins, post-mint alterations, chemical cleaning, or machine doubling should never be mistaken for valuable mint errors, making expert authentication a critical step before assigning any significant value. Authentication has become increasingly important as online marketplaces expose collectors to both genuine treasures and convincing counterfeits. Fortunately, counterfeiters generally focus on coins with much higher potential profits, but altered Lincoln cents still appear regularly through modified mint marks, artificial tunning, added damage disguised as mint errors, or deceptive attempts to imitate rare varieties. Knowledgeable collectors begin with basic specifications by confirming the proper diameter, weight, edge, composition, and magnetic behavior before examining microscopic details under adequate lighting and magnification. Genuine examples exhibit crisp design characteristics, properly shaped lettering, and mint-produced surfaces that differ noticeably from cast or altered imitations. Many advanced collectors ultimately rely on respected third-party grading companies because tamper-evident holders provide independent verification of authenticity, grade, and variety attribution. These certified holders also strengthen buyer confidence during resale, particularly when a coin appears unusually well preserved or displays a potentially valuable error. Without professional verification, assigning extraordinary value becomes speculative, and reputable auction houses generally place far greater confidence in coins accompanied by recognized certification. The marketplace for the 2009 birth and early childhood cent has matured considerably since its original release, creating a clear distinction between common circulated examples and genuinely elite survivors. Most circulated coins remain inexpensive reminders of an important anniversary, but certified high-grade pieces with exceptional color and flawless preservation continue attracting registry-set competitors willing to pay meaningful premiums for incremental quality improvements. Auction archives illustrate this pattern repeatedly, where authenticated mint state examples certified at the highest available grades have realized prices well above ordinary collector expectations. Certain elite full red examples have achieved results approaching or exceeding $3,900 when exceptional eye appeal, top population rankings, and strong bidder competition aligned during major sales. Those remarkable prices should never be interpreted as typical for every 2009 Lincoln cent, however. They represent a small number of extraordinary coins that combined superior preservation with independent certification and limited availability. The overwhelming majority of surviving pieces simply do not possess those characteristics, reinforcing the importance of realistic expectations grounded in condition, rarity, and verified market evidence rather than internet rumors or sensational claims. For collectors fortunate enough to own one of these bicentennial cents, careful preservation can make an enormous difference over the long term. Even a beautiful uncirculated coin can lose significant desirability if cleaned, polished, or improperly stored. Experienced numismatists recommend handling raw coins only by their edges, avoiding fingerprints that may permanently affect copper surfaces. Storage in inert archival quality holders, stable humidity, and protection from rapid temperature changes help preserve original luster and color, while minimizing exposure to moisture reduces the risk of spotting or corrosion. Maintaining any accompanying mint packaging for collector set examples can also enhance future appeal. Ultimately, the 2009 Birth and Early Childhood Lincoln cent represents far more than a commemorative design, marking the beginning of Lincoln's remarkable life. It captures an important moment in American numismatic history, bridges a century of Lincoln's cent tradition with a fresh artistic vision, and reminds collectors that true value is determined through careful research, authenticated originality, preservation, rarity, and sustained demand. Whether discovered in circulation, inherited as part of a family collection, or acquired through a respected dealer or auction, every genuine example offers an opportunity to appreciate how history, craftsmanship, and the collector market intersect in one of America's most recognizable coins. Next coin. Among the 4 reverse designs that transformed the Lincoln cent during 2009, none captures the turning point in Abraham Lincoln's rise quite like the bicentennial professional life cent. At first glance, it looks like another modern penny that could easily disappear into everyday change. Yet this small coin quietly commemorates the years that shaped Lincoln into one of the most influential figures in American history. The reverse portrays a young Lincoln standing confidently before the Illinois State Capitol in Springfield, holding a book that symbolizes his legal career and lifelong commitment to learning. That image has attracted a devoted following among collectors because it represents much more than a historical illustration. It marks a unique one-year design that will never again appear on a circulating United States cent. As the documentary unfolds, you'll discover why some authenticated examples have become especially desirable, what characteristics separate ordinary pieces from elite collector coins, and how professional grading, originality, rarity, and market demand ultimately determine their place in today's numismatic marketplace. The story behind this coin begins with the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth in 2009, an event that inspired the United States Mint to temporarily replace the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse with 4 separate designs illustrating major stages of his life. The Professional Life reverse was the 3rd issue released during the year and focused on Lincoln's years as a practicing attorney and emerging political leader in Illinois. While Victor David Brenner's classic obverse portrait remained unchanged, preserving a design first introduced in 1909, The reverse was created by United States Mint Artistic Infusion Program artist Joel Iskovitz and sculpted by Don Everhart. Lincoln is shown standing before the old state capitol in Springfield, where he practiced law, debated public policy, and developed the leadership skills that eventually carried him to the presidency. Design deliberately emphasizes education, integrity, and public service rather than military power or political authority, reminding collectors that Lincoln's greatest achievements were built upon years of discipline, study, and perseverance. Issued during a period when the United States was still recovering from the global financial crisis, the coin also entered circulation at a moment when many Americans found renewed inspiration in Lincoln's story of determination through adversity. Although millions of these cents entered circulation, their production reflects the remarkable precision of modern United States Mint operations. Business strike examples were produced at both the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the absence of a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which bears the familiar D below the date on the obverse. Proof versions carrying the S mint mark were struck at the San Francisco Mint, specifically for collectors using specially polished dies and carefully prepared planchets to create brilliant mirrored fields and frosted design elements. Circulating examples retain the standard post-1982 composition of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, giving each coin a weight of approximately 2.5 grams, a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and a plain edge. In addition, the Mint produced collector editions struck in the traditional bronze alloy used on the original 1909 Lincoln cent, weighing approximately 3.11 grams and containing mostly copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. These bronze collector issues immediately became an important distinction within the Bicentennial program because they recreated the metallic composition familiar to generations of earlier collectors while honoring Lincoln's bicentennial in a historically meaningful way. As these coins circulated through banks, cash registers, and pocket change across the country, collectors quickly noticed that preservation varied dramatically from one example to another. Freshly struck coins displayed bright copper-red luster, sharply defined architectural details, and crisp portrait features, but everyday handling rapidly introduced nicks, abrasions, fingerprints, discoloration, and dull surfaces that permanently affected collector appeal. Professional grading services evaluate every surviving example using the Sheldon grading scale, carefully examining strike quality, surface preservation, luster, eye appeal, and originality before assigning an official grade. Copper coins also receive color designations such as brown, red-brown, or full red, with full red examples retaining nearly all of their original mint color, typically attracting the strongest collector demand. A certified Mint State 68 full red example with exceptional eye appeal may sell in the neighborhood of $1,150 to $1,650 depending on certification, population reports, and current market conditions, while an otherwise similar coin displaying carbon spots, faded color, or distracting contact marks may command only a fraction of that amount. These differences illustrate why experienced collectors never judge rarity or value solely by the date appearing on the coin. The search for unusual varieties and legitimate mint errors adds another fascinating dimension to the professional life cent. Every working die gradually wears throughout production, and although the overwhelming majority of these coins were struck normally, collectors continue examining them for recognized doubled dies, die cracks, retained cuds, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and other genuine manufacturing anomalies. Reliable attribution is essential because countless damaged coins are mistakenly advertised online as valuable errors despite showing only post-mint abuse or mechanical damage. When a dramatic mint-made error is authenticated by a respected third-party grading service, collector interest can increase substantially because such pieces combine historical significance with true production rarity. A major authenticated off-center example retaining a complete date and identifiable design has realized prices around $2,650 in the collector marketplace. while especially dramatic wrong-planchet or multiple error combinations may command even stronger competition when properly documented. However, specialists consistently caution that no premium should be assigned without confirming the error's authenticity through recognized experts, since incorrect identification remains one of the most common mistakes made by beginning collectors. As interest in Lincoln Bicentennial cents expanded, authentication became increasingly important for protecting both collectors and investors. Although counterfeiters generally focus on coins worth far more than most modern cents, altered examples occasionally appear with manipulated mint marks, artificially enhanced surfaces, fabricated errors, or misleading descriptions intended to exaggerate rarity. Careful examination begins with confirming the correct weight, diameter, composition, edge, and design details before studying the surfaces under proper magnification. Genuine coins display precise lettering, consistent relief, and production characteristics unique to mint manufacturing equipment that are difficult to duplicate convincingly. For higher value examples, certification by respected grading organizations provides independent verification of authenticity, grade, and any recognized variety designation. Registry collectors frequently prefer certified coins because standardized grading creates greater confidence during purchases, competitive set building, and future resale. This independent evaluation often becomes one of the most important factors separating an attractive raw coin from an example capable of competing at the highest levels of modern Lincoln cent collecting. Auction history demonstrates that exceptional quality, rather than simple availability, drives the strongest prices for this issue. Most circulated examples remain affordable historical souvenirs, but the population of flawless or nearly flawless certified coins becomes dramatically smaller at the highest mint state levels. Registry set competitors often pursue tiny improvements in preservation because the difference between one certified grade and the next can represent an enormous challenge in terms of surviving population. Verified auction records show that elite certified full red examples have approached or exceeded approximately $3,700 when outstanding eye appeal, superior strike quality, exceptional originality, and top population status aligned during competitive bidding. Those impressive results reflect only a handful of authenticated coins that occupy the uppermost tier of preservation. They should never be interpreted as typical values for every 2009 professional life cent found in circulation. Market prices continue to fluctuate according to certification, grading standards, collector demand, and the availability of comparable examples, reinforcing the importance of relying on verified sales rather than unsupported online claims. The enduring appeal of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Professional Life cent ultimately lies in the remarkable balance between history and modern collecting. It commemorates the years when Abraham Lincoln developed the character, legal reasoning, and public reputation that would later define his presidency, while simultaneously representing one chapter in one of the most ambitious redesigns ever undertaken for the nation's longest-running circulating coin series. Collectors who preserve these cents carefully, handling them only by the edges, avoiding cleaning or polishing, and storing them in archival quality holders away from moisture, excessive heat, and contaminants, give future generations the opportunity to study them in their original state. Whether acquired directly from circulation, preserved in mint sets, certified by professional grading services, or passed down through family collections, each authentic example serves as a tangible reminder that historical significance alone does not determine collector value. Instead, lasting desirability emerges from the combination of originality, exceptional preservation, verified authenticity, rarity within the highest grades, and sustained demand from collectors who recognize that even a modern 1-cent coin can tell an extraordinary chapter of America's story. Next up, at first glance, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cent, featuring the formative years, reverse, seems no different from the countless pennies that quietly pass through cash registers, piggy banks, and forgotten jars across America. Yet experienced collectors rarely dismiss it so quickly. They know this single-year design has become the subject of careful examination because the smallest details often separate an ordinary circulation strike from a genuinely desirable collectible. The scene of a young Abraham Lincoln reading while resting from splitting logs appears simple enough, but every line, every letter, every surface characteristic can tell a different story about how, where, and when the coin was struck. Before discussing what authenticated examples have brought in the collector market, it is worth investigating why specialists spend so much time studying this particular issue and why professional grading, originality, preservation, and careful authentication matter far more than the date alone. As the investigation unfolds, the reasons certain examples command extraordinary attention become much clearer than they first appear. The story begins during one of the most meaningful anniversaries in American numismatic history. In 2009, exactly 2 centuries after Abraham Lincoln's birth, the United States Mint temporarily replaced the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse with 4 separate designs illustrating key chapters of Lincoln's life. The Formative Years design became the second release in that commemorative series and depicts a teenage Lincoln in Indiana, seated on a log while reading a book, his axe resting nearby after the hard work of clearing land. The artwork symbolizes something deeper than physical labor. It represents Lincoln's relentless pursuit of knowledge despite limited formal education, highlighting the intellectual curiosity that eventually shaped one of America's most respected presidents. The reverse was designed by Charles Vickers and sculpted by Jim Licoretz, while Victor David Brenner's historic portrait of Lincoln remained unchanged on the obverse, continuing a tradition that began in 1909. Released during the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, these commemorative cents quietly entered circulation while Americans faced economic uncertainty, giving the design an additional layer of symbolic meaning centered on perseverance, education, and opportunity through determination. With the historical context established, the investigation naturally shifts toward the coin itself. Every authentic circulation strike example was produced either at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the absence of a mint mark, or at the Denver Mint, where a small d appears beneath the date on the obverse. Proof versions bearing the S mint mark were manufactured at the San Francisco Mint using specially polished dies and carefully prepared planchets intended for collector sets rather than circulation. Most circulating examples consist of 97.5% zinc coated with a thin layer of copper, weigh approximately 2.5 grams, measure 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and feature a plain edge. However, collectors quickly discovered another important distinction. The United States Mint also issued collector versions struck in the traditional bronze alloy, resembling the original 1909 Lincoln cent, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. That difference in composition is one of the first characteristics experienced numismatists verify because it immediately separates ordinary circulation issues from special collector editions. Even before examining rarity or condition, confirming these physical specifications helps establish whether a coin matches genuine mint production standards. Once authenticity is reasonably established, experienced collectors begin examining the details that determine long-term desirability. The date is confirmed first, followed immediately by the mint mark and the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait. Attention then moves to the reverse, where the folds in Lincoln's clothing, the texture of the logs, the definition of the book, and the surrounding inscriptions reveal how completely the dies transferred their design during striking. Strong strikes display crisp architectural detail and full definition throughout the design, while weaker strikes often leave softer features that limit collector appeal. Surface preservation becomes equally important because copper-plated zinc cents readily acquire contact marks, fingerprints, scratches, and discoloration during circulation. Original mint luster should flow evenly across untouched surfaces. And collectors carefully distinguish natural agging from damage caused by cleaning or improper storage. Copper color classifications also play a significant role, with professionally graded examples receiving brown, red-brown, or full red designations. Coins retaining vibrant original full red surfaces generally attract stronger interest than similarly graded pieces that have darkened over time, illustrating how appearance can influence market demand alongside technical grade. Professional grading introduces another level of investigation because condition alone does not tell the entire story. Third-party grading services evaluate strike quality, luster, surface preservation, eye appeal, originality, and overall technical merit before assigning a Sheldon scale grade. Population reports maintained by these organizations reveal that although millions of formative years cents were produced, the number surviving in nearly flawless mint state grades is dramatically smaller than many collectors expect. Registry set competitors often pursue only the finest certified examples, creating intense competition whenever an exceptional coin becomes available. Under current market conditions, an authenticated mint state 68 full red example may trade in approximately the $1,300 to $1,900 range, depending on certification, visual appeal, and available supply, while lower-grade examples or coins with distracting carbon spots, fading, or impaired surfaces usually bring considerably less. These differences demonstrate why knowledgeable collectors examine far more than the date before estimating collector value. Preservation, originality, and professional certification consistently outweigh simple age or mintage when determining desirability. The investigation becomes even more fascinating when attention turns toward genuine mint errors and recognized die varieties. Modern minting technology produces remarkably consistent coins, meaning spectacular errors remain genuinely scarce rather than commonplace. Specialists search carefully for legitimate doubled dies, die cracks, retained cuds, clipped planchets, broad strikes, off-center strikes, and other well-documented production anomalies. At the same time, they remain cautious because many online listings incorrectly identify damaged coins as valuable mint errors. Machine doubling, environmental corrosion, chemical alteration, and post-mint abuse frequently mislead inexperienced buyers into believing they have discovered something rare. A professionally authenticated major off-center strike retaining a complete visible date has reached approximately $2,850 in specialized collector sales, while unusual multiple error combinations may realize stronger prices when supported by recognized certification. Importantly, there is no widely recognized blockbuster die variety unique to the 2009 formative years circulation issue comparable to some famous classic Lincoln cent varieties, and responsible collectors acknowledge that absence rather than inventing dramatic discoveries unsupported by numismatic research. As values increase for elite examples, authentication becomes increasingly important. Counterfeiters rarely target ordinary circulation strikes, but altered coins occasionally appear with modified mint marks, artificial tunning, fabricated errors, or misleading descriptions intended to inflate perceived rarity. Careful examination begins with confirming the correct weight, diameter, edge, and composition before studying lettering, design details, and surface texture under proper magnification. Genuine mint products exhibit sharp, consistent characteristics that are difficult to reproduce convincingly through casting or alteration. When uncertainty remains, professional certification by established grading services provides independent verification of authenticity, grade, and any recognized variety attribution. Auction houses and advanced collectors place considerably greater confidence in certified examples because standardized evaluation reduces uncertainty during buying and selling. This emphasis on authentication explains why two visually similar coins can perform very differently in the marketplace if only one carries trusted third-party certification documenting its originality and condition. Ultimately, the enduring appeal of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Formative Years cent extends far beyond its one-year reverse design. It captures the moment when a young Abraham Lincoln transformed curiosity into lifelong learning, while simultaneously commemorating one of the most ambitious redesigns in the history of the Lincoln cent series. Verified auction records demonstrate that only authenticated, top population, high-grade examples with exceptional preservation have approached or exceeded roughly $3,800 under competitive bidding, and those remarkable results represent an extremely small number of elite survivors rather than typical circulation finds. For everyone else, the greatest lesson offered by this coin is the importance of careful observation. Experienced collectors continue studying the date, mint mark, strike quality, lettering, luster, color, eye appeal, and possible mint-made abnormalities before drawing conclusions about rarity or value. Proper handling by the edges, storage in inert archival quality holders, protection from humidity, and avoidance of cleaning help preserve original surfaces for future generations. In the end, this investigation reveals that the true significance of the formative years cent lies not in sensational claims, but in the remarkable way history, craftsmanship, preservation, and disciplined numismatic research come together within one small American coin. Last coin. Millions of Americans have handled a 2009 Lincoln cent without realizing that one version quietly marked the final chapter of one of the most ambitious circulating coin programs in United States history. The Lincoln Presidency cent, instantly recognizable by the unfinished Capitol dome on its reverse, appears ordinary enough to escape notice in pocket change. Yet seasoned collectors often pause when they encounter one in exceptional condition. They understand that the true story of this coin is not told by its date alone, but by a combination of historical significance, preservation, strike quality, and authenticated originality. At first glance, every example seems nearly identical, but subtle differences can place one coin among common circulation finds, while another earns the attention of registry-set competitors and advanced numismatists. As this documentary unfolds, we will closely examine why certain certified examples have become especially desirable, how specialists evaluate them, and what verified market results reveal about the coin's place in today's collector landscape. Lincoln Presidency cent was the fourth and final design released during the United States Mint's 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial program, a series created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Rather than simply honoring Lincoln with another portrait, the Mint chose to illustrate four defining stages of his remarkable life, beginning with his humble childhood and concluding with his presidency during one of the nation's greatest constitutional crises. The reverse of this final issue depicts the partially completed dome of the United States Capitol, an image rich with symbolism because construction continued even as the Civil War divided the country. President Lincoln insisted that work on the Capitol proceed despite enormous national uncertainty, believing that finishing the building represented the endurance of the Union itself. The reverse was designed by Susan Gamble and sculpted by Joseph Menna, while Victor David Brenner's iconic obverse portrait remained unchanged, preserving a design that had represented the Lincoln cent for a full century. Released during the lingering effects of the Great Recession, the coin entered circulation at a moment when many Americans once again found inspiration in Lincoln's example of resilience and leadership during difficult times. Understanding how these coins were produced helps explain why collectors treat seemingly similar examples very differently. Business strikes were manufactured at both the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally omitted a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, where the familiar D appears beneath the date. Proof examples bearing the S mint mark were struck at the San Francisco Mint using specially polished dies and carefully prepared planchets intended for collector sets rather than circulation. Standard circulation strikes followed the post-1982 composition of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, weighed approximately 2.5 grams, measured 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and featured a plain edge. At the same time, the United States Mint also produced collector editions struck in the traditional bronze alloy that closely matched the composition of the original 1909 Lincoln cent, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. That distinction remains important because experienced collectors always confirm a coin's composition before making assumptions about rarity or value. Production numbers reached into the hundreds of millions across Philadelphia and Denver, meaning scarcity is rarely determined by mintage alone. Instead, survival in exceptional condition becomes the defining factor. When specialists begin evaluating a Lincoln Presidency cent, they follow a remarkably disciplined process that extends far beyond simply checking the date. The first inspection confirms the mint mark before attention shifts to the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait and the reverse details surrounding the Capitol dome. Strongly struck examples display crisp architectural definition, clean lettering, and fully developed design elements throughout the coin, while weaker strikes may leave portions of the dome or surrounding inscriptions noticeably softer. Surface preservation becomes equally important because copper-plated zinc cents are especially susceptible to contact marks, fingerprints, carbon spotting, and discoloration after entering circulation. Collectors also examine original mint luster, looking for uninterrupted cartwheel brilliance that indicates minimal handling. Copper color classifications established by professional grading services, brown, red-brown, and full red, play an essential role because full red coins retaining nearly all of their original color generally command the strongest demand. A certified mint state 68 full red example may bring approximately $1,450 to $1,950, depending on certification, visual appeal, population reports, and prevailing market conditions, while similarly graded coins with impaired surfaces or diminished color often trade for substantially less despite sharing identical dates and mint marks. Professional grading introduces another layer of complexity because the highest quality survivors become increasingly scarce with every incremental improvement in condition. Third-party grading services evaluate strike quality, luster, surface preservation, eye appeal, originality, and technical characteristics before assigning a Sheldon scale grade. Registry collectors studying certified population reports recognize that although enormous quantities of Lincoln Presidency cents were struck, remarkably few survive in virtually flawless condition. Even tiny imperfections invisible to casual observers may prevent a coin from reaching the highest mint state grades, dramatically reducing its competitiveness among advanced collectors. This explains why experienced buyers often spend considerable time examining certified images or viewing coins in person before making purchasing decisions. Originality remains particularly important because cleaning, polishing, or improper storage permanently alters copper surfaces, often eliminating the natural characteristics collectors seek. Rather than chasing every example available, sophisticated collectors patiently wait for coins displaying exceptional eye appeal, balanced color, and untouched surfaces that distinguish them from the vast majority of surviving pieces. The investigation becomes even more intriguing when genuine mint errors and recognized die varieties enter the discussion. Modern United States mint technology produces remarkably consistent coins, meaning significant production mistakes remain genuinely uncommon rather than routine discoveries. Specialists continue searching Lincoln Presidency cents for authenticated doubled dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, off-center strikes, retained cuds, and other legitimate manufacturing anomalies documented through respected numismatic research. At the same time, caution is essential because damaged coins are frequently misrepresented online as valuable errors when they actually display post-mint abuse, machine doubling, environmental damage, or chemical alteration. A major authenticated off-center strike retaining a complete visible date and substantial design detail has realized values around $2,900 in specialized collector markets, though results vary according to certification, severity, and buyer demand. No universally recognized blockbuster die variety unique to the circulation strike Lincoln Presidency cent has achieved the fame of classic Lincoln cent varieties from earlier decades, and responsible market analysis acknowledges that absence rather than inventing sensational discoveries unsupported by reliable evidence. As collector interest has grown, authentication has become increasingly important in protecting buyers from altered or misrepresented coins. While counterfeiters generally concentrate on rarer and more expensive issues, deceptive examples occasionally appear with added mint marks, artificial tunning, fabricated errors, or misleading descriptions intended to exaggerate rarity. Careful examination begins with verifying the proper weight, diameter, edge, composition, and design details before studying lettering, relief, and surface texture under magnification. Genuine mint products display precise manufacturing characteristics that are difficult to duplicate convincingly through casting or alteration. For coins believed to possess exceptional quality or unusual characteristics, certification by respected third-party grading organizations provides independent confirmation of authenticity, grade, and any recognized variety attribution. Certified holders also enhance market confidence because collectors, dealers, and auction houses rely upon standardized grading when evaluating premium quality material. This independent verification often represents the difference between an interesting raw coin and one capable of attracting serious competition among advanced collectors. The enduring significance of the 2009 Lincoln Presidency cent extends beyond its role as the concluding chapter of the Bicentennial series. It symbolizes Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War while simultaneously marking the end of the Lincoln Memorial Reverse that had dominated the cent for half a century before the Union Shield design debuted in 2010. Verified auction history demonstrates that only authenticated, top population, exceptionally preserved full red examples have approached or exceeded roughly $3,600 under competitive bidding, and those results belong exclusively to a very small number of elite certified survivors rather than ordinary circulation finds. For collectors, the greatest lesson offered by this coin is that lasting value emerges from originality, professional authentication, outstanding preservation, superior eye appeal, and sustained demand, not from the date alone. Proper handling by the edges, storage in inert archival quality holders, protection from moisture, and avoidance of cleaning remain the best ways to preserve these characteristics for future generations. Every remarkable collection begins with learning to recognize the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary, and that search is what keeps the world of rare coins endlessly compelling.